Hi, everyone. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. I want to thank my sponsors, the Health Channel. So please join their newsletter, subscribe for anything related to your health. And if you need any working spaces, Alexa's Workspace can accommodate you, whether it's a month, a day, or even an hour. So everyone, welcome to this great conversation. Daniela, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We had Daniela when I first started doing these interviews. It was like 4 years ago. And it is an honor to have Daniela here again because we needed an update on what she has been doing. So Daniela is the founder of the nonprofit Believe in Kindness. Tell me how, so all of those that didn't listen to our previous conversation many years ago, tell me a little bit of why you started this nonprofit when you were just 12 years old, by the way.
When I was 12 years old, I was doing my bat mitzvah like a lot of Jewish girls do, and we were looking for a mitzvah project, and I really, really wanted to do something that was meaningful to me. I didn't want to do something that I just did because I had to do something or because like someone else made me do it. So my mom and I started talking, and she was like, okay, what would you like to do? And we kind of got to the conclusion that I feel like I've been really, really lucky my entire life. And I've had an amazing mom who raised me in a way that really allowed me to do most of the things that I wanted to try. And we started talking about different experiences I had been through. And when I was in elementary school, I went through an episode of bullying, and there was a conflict within my grade, and there was a lot of problems between the girls. And so when I was choosing a mitzvah project, I was like, Mom, I think I was given the tools to address the bullying and to not let it affect me more than it was necessary. And I wish that there were other girls in the world had that opportunity also, because I think that it is integral to who I am today, and it's something that I take with me in how I approach all of my problems. So we started by targeting the bullying side of the I guess the problem, and we sold t-shirts that say I believe in kindness on them, and that's where Believe in Kindness came from, to raise money for what our project was going to be. And now the nonprofit works on social emotional program with girls in an orphanage in Peru through mindfulness, meditation, and therapy that really helps them have the tools that they need to succeed emotionally.
That's amazing. With everything that's going on, I have a tough question. Do you still believe in kindness of the people?
I do. And I think that with everything going on, if anything, it's highlighted the kindness that we all have and the need to come together that we share, especially in times like this. I think that for the most part, people have joined together with all of the problems and with all of the conflict and with everything. I think that there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of negative emotions, but there's also a lot of kindness, there's a lot of unity, there's a lot of empathy. I feel all around me, I feel that my friends and my peers really do have a lot of empathy for one another, for strangers, for people they've never even met before. And it really gives me hope in how we're handling a lot of these things.
But I feel that there's also a lot of hate as well. Like you talk about unity, but I feel that people have united in two different teams. Yes. Like either you're on my team or you're on the other team.
Yeah.
And I feel it has been more divided now than ever.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely like a separation, and it's very there's not a lot of conversation between the two groups. I think that it's very divided between groups. I think that I mean, I'm in college now, so on college campuses the division is very, very noticeable. There's a lot of protests and a lot of very little empathy, I think, in that sense. I think the bigger problem that I feel is in groups. When you talk to people one-on-one and when you have conversations with individuals, you do feel the kindness, you do feel the empathy, and you get to a place of common ground. And then the second you turn away and people kind of go back to their groups is when you feel the
pressure.
the hate, and it's like the dialogue completely changes.
Peer pressure?
Maybe. I think it's like trendy, like that's what's trendy right now. So that's
Like trendy. I honestly, and I was talking this yesterday with my sister, and we were shocked because there has always been anti-Semitism in the world. This is not new. Since the Jews have been expelled from Egypt, it has, since the beginning of time, there has been anti-Semitism. But I was shocked at how much they hate us.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I grew up with stories of, my great grandparents telling me like, oh, the stories of, I guess, how it got to the Holocaust and how the Holocaust eventually happened. And I think I didn't believe it growing up. I was like, how did people let this happen? How did we get to a point where something like the Holocaust could have happened? And now I'm seeing it firsthand, where I think it was yesterday or the day before, there was, I don't know if you saw this, but there was neo-Nazis walking through Wisconsin.
But only Wisconsin and Orlando, there was also Nazis.
On a college campus. And I got videos from my friends who go to the University of Wisconsin on their campus, people marching with flags like Nazi, like swastikas. And, this has been going on for like 6 weeks now, since October 7th. And when October 7th first happened and we saw different anti-Semitic acts, people justified that they weren't anti-Semitic, they were anti-Israel. And when the flyers started to go up around campus that were anti-Semitic, people were like, no, they're not anti-Semitic, they're just anti-Israel. And now it's gone from that anti-Semitism to the Nazi rallies from this weekend. And I feel like this is where things start to like progress quicker.
Correct. And you feel scared.
Yeah. I mean, I think my university has been great from the administrative perspective. The president has been amazing. He's very, very against anti-Semitism, has been fully supporting the Jewish community on campus. There's a very big Jewish community here, but I'm scared. I'm more scared for my friends at other campuses, seeing what they have to experience and knowing that this is like already progressing. So it's only going to progress further unless we cut it off right now.
And I remember that a lot of times, like I've been very outspoken also, and some people say, aren't you afraid? And that was exactly what happened in Germany, that people were afraid and they kept quiet. And I think that was the biggest catalyst on how everything evolved. We cannot stay quiet. We need to literally voice our words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Voice our concern.
Absolutely.
So tell me your experience. I know it was the first time. I know that you had an agenda with your friends and you went all the way to DC for the march.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think, first of all, I don't think I've ever been around so many Jewish people in my life. So just the fact that we were all standing in one place.
And not necessarily because there were a lot of non-Jews that were supporting.
I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of non-Jews that were supporting, but even if it was 50% of the people that were there were Jewish, I've never been around 150,000 Jews in my life, you know? So I think it was emotional in that, again, my family's from Beirut. Like, we come from a community that is now under 2,000 Jews total. So being with 150,000 is like unimaginable.
No, I can relate to you because I grew up in Colombia and we were 10,000 in the whole country, and now it's, I think, 3,000.
Yeah, exactly. So
I can relate to that.
Unimaginable. Like, when I came to the University of Michigan, there's somewhere between 5,000 and 6,000 Jews here. And I think that was huge.
And yeah, of course, you thought, oh my God,
that was one of the reasons I chose the University of Michigan, because I had other great options of universities.
Yeah, and the University of Michigan is huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
It has, like, I think 150,000.
There's 50,000 undergraduates at the Ann Arbor campus only. There's 50,000 students at the Ann Arbor campus only. So I think there's around 35,000 undergraduates and around 15,000 graduate students. And one of the main reasons why I chose the University of Michigan was because of that, because my parents were like, if you're already going to be living by yourself in another state, like, we want you to be somewhere where you have a community. And even from 6,000 like to DC was huge. It's a huge difference. So that was incredible. I mean, being with friends from all over the country that had all met in DC was also incredible. I saw people that I haven't seen in years, even though it was really hard to find people because of how many people there was. The speakers were amazing. I think it was really special to see, especially the representatives that spoke, the members of Congress that spoke, that they were bipartisan, and seeing like bipartisan members kind of come together for an issue that isn't just Republican or just Democrat was very special also, because it kind of gave, again, the sense of unity, the sense of like togetherness, and it got rid a little bit of the division of pointing fingers, placing blame. This is this person's fault. This happened because of that. Like, I think we left, at least the college students left, with this amazing feeling of we're doing the right thing. Like, all of this work that we've been doing in the day-to-day on college campuses is worth it and has a purpose.
So you went with another purpose.
Yeah.
You have very specific things that you want to do. Tell me about them.
We have been trying to address the anti-Semitism on campus. And again, our administration has been great with addressing it, but there is like a very generational divide in the beliefs on campus. So the president, the regents, the older people who I guess have a lot of the administrative power on campus are very much in support of their Jewish students on campus, are very against anti-Semitism, condemned the October 7th attack that Hamas did against Israel, all of these things. And then on October 9th, so the Monday after the attack, we went to class and there were flyers everywhere calling October 7th the biggest victory towards Palestinian liberation in years. And so there's very much a divide of like, even though the president is quote unquote on our side, even though the administration has shown a lot of support and the people who are like at the top have, a lot of students don't agree and don't realize the effects of not agreeing. Because one thing is to have different opinions about the Israeli government and the way that they run certain things. And
yeah, because that is politics.
Exactly.
It's completely different.
Exactly. And it is completely different to call a terrorist attack that killed over 1,400 people the biggest victory towards Palestinian liberation.
And took more than 200 people hostage.
Yes.
So, but you're asking, I'm going to read a little bit of your campaign objectives. So tell me a little bit of, you're asking to equip students with the facts.
Yes. So we have seen a lot of disinformation spreading around campus. There's a lot of words that are being thrown around without students knowing their real definitions. So, for example, genocide. There is a really common theme on campus that students specifically, are accusing Israel of genocide. And right now, our campaign is because there is a vote on our student government elections, which means that the entire student body gets to vote, and that's 50,000 students, that if passed would essentially ask central student government to release a statement that says that Israel is an apartheid regime, that they are committing genocide, that they're ethnic cleansing, and a bunch of other words that are being used right now. And so we are campaigning against passing this petition. And one of our main, I'm working with a group of students. We aren't all Jewish, so it's not a pro-Israel or a pro-Palestine initiative. It is a group of students that have come together to simply state the facts and clarify the narrative on kind of what is going on, and make sure that if students are going to vote on this petition, that at least they have the right information to vote. So, for example, if Israel is being accused of genocide, the definition of genocide is the intentional murder of a population based on either ethnicity, religion, race, etc. And that is not what Israel is doing, and they've stated multiple times that that's not their intention, and their actions match what their intention is. So we have a campaign where we're trying to educate people on the definition of genocide, explain instances of genocide, which genocide, the word genocide was created to describe the Holocaust. So it's interesting that now it's being used in this context, because it's almost like our own history is being used against us.
But I'm gonna ask something that I don't understand why it is being used against us. When October 7 happened and Hamas did what they did they think that Israel was going to stay quiet and silent and not retaliate against Hamas?
I honestly wish I had an answer, because I don't understand it either. I don't understand how, first of all, the October 7th attack that Hamas committed against Israel, first of all, how that was praised. Because if we just start there with that attack being celebrated, that's already problematic, because no land was acquired, there was no money, the only thing that Hamas accomplished on October 7th was killing people and taking hostages.
And paying people to take hostages and to kill more. So that was intentional, and that's why I don't understand why that part is not being called genocide.
Me neither.
The other part is, they knew that Israel was going to retaliate with 100% full force. Why didn't they protect their own people? Why didn't they? There are no shelters in Palestine, in Gaza. There are no shelter. There's no provisions. If they prepared for this attack, they should have prepared also to protect their people.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
To have them in the middle of a war and then blame Israel, which I think that was the ultimate objective, because for Hamas, the dead are martyrs against war, and for the Jewish people, a life is really sacred. So it's a completely different story.
Yeah. And when we have these conversations with people on campus who, it happens a lot. You see someone ripping down a kidnapped poster, and so my friends go up to them, talk to them, ask them questions. Why are you ripping it down? And we start having these conversations. Their argument is that Hamas cannot be held to the same standard that a normal military can. That you can't expect Hamas to protect its citizens the way you would expect a regular military of a normal civilized country to protect its citizens.
Right.
But then they won't even call Hamas a terrorist organization. So there's this like picking and choosing when they get to call Hamas, because when you call him, when I say, okay, well, can you at least say Hamas the terrorist organization, they're like, well, it's a military group. But then when you say, why doesn't the military group protect its citizens, they're like, oh, it can't be held to the same standard that the IDF can, because the IDF has much more resources and much more.
On the contrary, Hamas has a lot more resources. The only thing they have used it to buy weapons, to construct their tunnels, to
protect themselves instead of their citizens.
Correct. Because they're all the highest members are living in Qatar in luxury, while their people are literally starving.
Yeah, worth billions of dollars each.
So it isn't that they don't have the resources.
Yeah. So it's a complicated conversation.
What do you want? How do you want to improve the safety on campus? What do you want the college to do so that you can feel safe?
I think I don't feel unsafe right now, in that I can be very vocal about how I feel. And I think that the worst case scenario would be getting screamed at by other students, getting like verbally attacked. But I don't feel like my safety is at physical risk because the university has done a great job of protecting us. I do think that long term, there has to be a change in the way that my generation thinks about this problem, because if we continue down the path that we're on, then 15, 20 years from now, there's only going to be more people that believe what the students on my campus believe. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of.
How do we combat that?
I think it starts with having conversations. And a lot of people that I've met in college throughout my last 2.5 years here had never met someone Jewish before they met me. So I think that's already like
that is a big issue that I find also, that when they meet someone Jewish, it's like, oh, you're normal.
Yeah.
It's like, what did you expect?
And I have friends who are Christian and like are religious, and I think in comparison to a lot of Jewish students on campus, I wasn't raised religious at all, but I think that Hispanic Jews are a little bit more conservative than American Jews are. It's something that I encountered when I came to college. So I think that the like comparison of religion with my friends who aren't Jewish has been really helpful for them, because they're like, oh, well, I'm a person who believes in God a lot, and I go to church all the time, like religiously, and all these different things. So I think it kind of gave us some common ground to start with, and then from there we talk more about other more complicated things, but it starting in the same place and being like, oh, we're the same, kind of makes us having more complicated conversations easier.
How do you combat the fake news on social media? Because I grew up without social media. So our fights were like one-on-one.
Yeah.
Like one-on-one, if you got to be in the news, it was like a huge, huge issue, or the newspaper. But now it's literally 24/7. Every single minute you get something from either part.
Yeah. I think right now, the biggest issue I've faced when having conversations with people is the AI argument. That's not real. That was generated by AI. That's artificial intelligence.
But AI is also Google. You can ask Google something, or Alexa, tell me what the weather is like, and that's AI.
So I think we're at an interesting time where things are going to start to get much more influenced by artificial intelligence. And I think that, social media is I kind of wish I grew up in a different generation that didn't have social media, I've always said this even before, you know, aside from politics and everything else, I think social media has really, really harmful effects on students. And from the bullying perspective, with the whole history that I have with the foundation and everything, it's really hard to control what people say on social media.
Has it taken away from the kindness?
I think it's just given people who aren't kind a bigger platform.
Yeah.
I think it's given bullies a bigger platform. And it's easier to be a bully when you don't have to do it face to face. So when you're able to hide behind a screen, it's easier to say whatever you want to say without being scared of the repercussions. And I think that applies to what's happening with Israel also, because people are like, it's okay, it doesn't really matter. Like, what I say is just a post on social media. I can always delete it, or people don't even have to know it's me. People don't have, it takes away the fear of being rejected there in the moment, or of getting backlash, of all these different things. That being said, I also think that hashtags and all these other things that kind of like create a status quo and create what's considered trendy at the time affect what people think and affect how we interact with social media and with everything else.
I wish I could stay here talking to you forever. But since our time is over, give me a message of thanksgiving, of hope, of people being kind. I don't know, of overcoming all the hate.
I think at the end of the day, we are all going to come together. At least I think the Jewish people have a history of coming together, and the people that support us will realize kind of who we are and what we really stand for, and the truth will come out. And I think that we'll stand together, and we really, really will kind of come out on top.
So my wish for everyone is for peace, and that we can all live together and spread kindness.
I 100% agree.
So Daniella, thank you so much. And please keep us posted on everything that you're doing for the safety of everyone.
Thank you.
Else, have an amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you for everything. Thank you for listening. And above all, stay safe.